Hi everyone, it's Dr. Anne-Marie Clark from SPIN. Thanks for joining me again. Today we're going to conclude our discussion of the principles of applied behavior analysis by talking about consequence interventions. And I think it's important to remember when we talk about these interventions that we're using the term differently than we do in regular conversation. When we talk to each other just generally about consequences, we're usually thinking about negative effects, things that happen after a situation. So we might say or might hear someone say to a child, you're just going to have to suffer the consequences of that. But when we talk about consequences under ABA, we're actually using it very, very differently, and that's an important distinction I'd like you to think about. Consequence interventions are things that happen immediately after the child demonstrates a behavior. So if we want to manipulate the consequence interventions, basically what we're trying to do is provide either reinforcement, which can be positive reinforcement by adding something that will increase a behavior, or negative reinforcement, which is taking something away that will also increase the frequency of a behavior. So we would be looking, of course, to reinforce behaviors that are desirable. So if a child is cooperative, if a child cleans up, if a child lines up appropriately, if a child completes all their academic tasks, we would definitely want to be reinforcing those behaviors by either providing a positive reinforcement or taking away something from the environment that we think is going to increase that behavior. And it's important to remember there that we sometimes negatively reinforce behaviors inadvertently. So, for example, if a child is tantruming in the checkout line at the grocery store and the parent buys the child a candy bar in an attempt to get them to stop tantruming, what we're actually doing is probably going to inadvertently increase the frequency of the behavior. Because now every time you get in the line at the grocery store, it's likely that the child's going to tantrum because they know that they got something that they really wanted out of that. So that's something that we want to be careful about. The term of punishment, when we think about it from an applied behavior analysis perspective, has to do with interventions that we apply that reduce behavior. So again, when we talk about punishment in the general conversation, we use it very, very differently. So in applied behavior analysis with punishment, we want to reduce the frequency of behavior by either, again, applying an intervention, or taking something away in the environment that will actually reduce that child's behavior. So one of the things that sometimes we use to reduce a behavior is we ignore it. And ignoring can be a form, if you will, of punishment, only in that ignoring is a strategy that, when applied carefully, will actually result in a reduction of behavior. We call this planned ignoring. So I would encourage people to think again about consequence interventions as trying to analyze what you do immediately after the behavior. Does it increase the desired behavior and decrease the undesired behavior? That is a consequence intervention. And the only way we can tell if that is working is to continue to collect data after we apply the intervention. So this is a term, or it's actually, I think, the most complicated part of the ABCs of behavior. And I would encourage you to submit questions that you have about that using the link below, and we can help you refine some of the ways that you apply consequence interventions for the children and young people that you work with in an effort to help you keep pace with autism.